Hey everybody, it's Jacob Wade here from Roadmap Money, and I am so excited to bring to you today the new 2022 budget binder. This is our brand new binder with over 100 pages included. We've got all your budgeting needs covered, as well as a savings tracker. We've got investment trackers. We've got all kinds of really cool worksheets for like debt payoff and bills checklists and a whole full-featured calendar. Everything is included in this thing. We're really excited to bring this to you today. So we're gonna walk through how to use it, how to get it organized, how to fill it out, and how to make the most of this 2022 budget binder. So first things first, if you have grabbed a copy of this budget binder, you can just print out the PDF at home at your convenience, and then you can organize it however you would like. We recommend getting a 3-ring binder and just getting hole punches so that you can keep it organized in one simple place. If you haven't grabbed a copy of this budget binder, there's a link below. You should be able to grab that quickly, get it printed out, and get started. So the first thing you're gonna see is that we have a full table of contents that details what is in every page of this budget binder. So it's gonna go through and tell you what's in it, as well as how to use those pages. So the key is to kind of read through this, understand what pages are important to you. There are a couple of important ones that we point out here that we think are the most important, but go through, get an overview of what's in the binder, and then you can go through and start to fill out those pages for your financial situation. So we've got 2 pages to this table of contents, 1 and 2, and you'll notice it covers the majority of these things, but for example, we're gonna tell you, hey, here's the monthly budget page. Even though there's 12 months worth of that, we're just gonna describe that once. And then if the instructions are not in the table of contents, the instructions might actually be on the page itself. So there are gonna be certain pages that you fill out that have instructions right on the page so that you can just follow those and fill them out. And then we just have our intro page. What is financial freedom? The whole goal of organizing your money and using this budget binder is to get control of your money and start directing it toward the things that are important to you. And so we just give a list of a couple of these things, but truly financial freedom is really just taking control of your money to go build a life you love with the money you already have. All right, first page, this is called the past spending tracker. And this one is very important because before you can figure out where you want to go, what your destination is, you need to put a starting point on the map. That is, where has my money been going? So the past spending tracker is simple. Essentially, you go through your bank and credit card statements. You print out 3 months worth of spending. I know it might be a little bit scary, but then you go through and just categorize each transaction. So the cool thing about this is you can go through and write your categories at the top of this. So say groceries, and I'll just do a little abbreviation here, but you can put groceries in. You can do auto expenses, right? So maybe it's a car payment or gas or insurance. So go through and create these kind of like larger categories at the top. And then you go through literally every transaction you've had for the last 3 months and write it down. So maybe I went to the grocery store and spent $200, right? And then you went and picked up a couple extra things for $50, right? So you'll go through and at the very bottom, you're gonna total that up. So say you go through all your grocery spending over the past 3 months and say you've spent $2,700, right? Let's just kind of put a number in there. So that's your total spending over the last 3 months. And then what you're gonna wanna do, it says here in the instructions to divide that by 3. So what that'll do is take your 3 months of spending and give you an average, right? So we're gonna go down here, 2,700 divided by 3 is about $900 a month spent on groceries. So why this is so important is because you want to use this as a starting point to create your first budget, your accurate budget. I really highly recommend go through this past spending tracker. It's a bit of an exercise. It takes a little bit of work, but this is gonna reveal reality to you of where your money has been going. So then you can take inventory and go, okay, we've been spending like this. Now we can go create a budget and start spending the way we want to. Let's create some concrete goals for what our budget should look like. But let's not put numbers on this budget that are based on nothing more than ideals. Let's put down reality. All right, once you have a realistic idea of where your money has been going, it's time to create your budget. So I have another video on this. If you want to check out the full details on creating a budget step by step, you'll find the link up here, hitting that little I dot. It'll pop up and you can check that out, or the link will be in the description below. But essentially, there are 5 sections to your budget. There's your income, there's your fixed expenses, there's your daily expenses, there's your savings buckets, and then there's one-time expenses that are only happening that month. So when you create your budget, you always start at the top with your income. So for example, you have maybe paycheck 1 and 2. And let's say it's a $3,000 take home per paycheck. And then you're gonna wanna start with your fixed expenses, put down your bills, the things that don't change every month. So like your mortgage and utility bills, that kind of thing. This also includes your debt payments. So things like your car payment or credit card minimum payments, make sure you put those down as well. And then once you have your fixed expenses written down, it's time to put down your daily expenses. These are your daily shopping trips, shopping, groceries, gas, any just regular spending you do throughout the week. Then you're gonna wanna go through and put in what I call savings buckets. These are small amounts that you save up for larger expenses later. And later in this budget binder, we'll have a savings bucket tracker. So say you're saving $100 a month for something at the end of the year that's gonna cost $1,200, right? The savings bucket tracker will allow you to kind of fill that in as you put that $100 aside each month. The last thing you want to put down is any one-time expenses, things like birthday parties or events or things that are just only happening that month. I always recommend just pulling out the calendar and going, okay, what are some important dates here that might cost us a little bit of money? Write those things down to make sure you don't miss those in your budget. Okay, and then when you've done all that, just total it all up at the bottom. Okay, once you've totaled it all up, now we're gonna go to the top and see what your total savings is for the month. So you're gonna take your total income minus your total expenses, and that'll give you how much you can put away per month. Now, I know this is just a sample budget, doesn't necessarily have everything in here correctly, but basically we have $6,000 a month coming in, take home pay, $5,450 in expenses, which means you can save about $550 a month. Now that will go toward your goals. And again, we have goal trackers later in this budget binder. Okay, now it's time to actually use your budget. So you're gonna track your spending. So to fill this thing out, you're gonna just put in, let's say it's January 1st. Let's call it 22. And you put in the starting balance, because that's where you need to start. You need to go, just take a snapshot. Where are we at in our checking account? What do we got going on? So let's say you have $2,000 in there. Now you're gonna go to the grocery store and spend $300, right? So on the 2nd, you go to the grocery store and just, I don't know, let's say Walmart. And the category is groceries. It's part of your groceries budget. And you're gonna spend $200 on groceries. So then you're just gonna keep a ledger. So you're gonna say, I have $2,000 in my account, I just spent $200. So now I only have $1,800 left to spend until I get paid next. So this is kind of like those old school check registers, right? Where you write a check and you write it down because maybe you used a credit card. Maybe your bank account still says $2,000, but you know, no, I just spent $200. Even if it's on the credit card, I have $200 less available to me. So again, write everything down, write the transactions, do the balance update so you know where you're at all times. You don't have to wait for transactions to clear. This is proactive budgeting. This is, again, it seems so simple and elementary, but this is what people aren't willing to do to get where they want to go. So if you want to make a change in your financial life, this is where it happens. So again, use this as sort of a check register. We printed a couple of these for each month, and you can kind of carry those over and keep them going. You can print as many of these as you want. If you have a lot of transactions, then print 5 of these, 6 of these. It doesn't matter, just stay on top of this. Okay, so now that you put together a budget, what is the point of the extra money at the end of the month? Well, you want to put it towards your goals, right? So we've put together a SMART goals worksheet that walks you through how to create a specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goal, a SMART goal. And the importance of that is that you describe the goal in detail so that you can actually break it down and start to get there. So we've got the example in here. There's actually an example in the instructions here, but let's call it paying off student loans, right? So your goal is to pay off your student loans. Well, that's your specific goal. Measurable, it is $24,000, right? Put the exact amount of student loans that you want to pay off. That is the measurable part. Attainable, this is important. If you create a goal like I want to pay off $500,000 of student loans in the next 12 months, but you only make 60 grand a year, that's not attainable and you're going to lose steam very quickly and just throw that goal away. So let's talk about an attainable goal. Well, how are we going to get there? We can pay more than the minimum amount on our student loan payment to actually get there. And then is it relevant? Is paying off your student loans important to you? If it's not, you're not going to start doing the things you need to do to actually get them paid off. They'll just sit there. But if paying off your student loans has a very important motivational factor, like I'll sleep better at night, then you'll actually start to make progress toward it. And then the last and probably most important piece of a SMART goal is it time bound? How long? Put a goal, put a destination on the map of how long it's going to take to pay that thing off. So using the example of our budget, you have a little over $500 a month extra. And if you divide that out, it takes about 48 months to pay off 24 grand in student loans. So we're gonna put down 48 months. So we're gonna use the extra in our budget. We're gonna pay more than the minimum on our student loans and we're gonna knock them out in 48 months. That is how you create a SMART goal. Okay, so this is another budgeting method, slightly different than just creating a regular monthly budget. This is I want to budget for each paycheck that comes in and the money that goes out every paycheck. So what that means is, say you get paid on the 1st, well, between the 1st and the 15th when you get paid next, what expenses need to happen? What needs to get taken care of? You're breaking it down by paycheck instead of just looking at the total month. So for example here, Wifey and Hubs here get paid $1,500 on the 1st. Let's talk about the expenses that need to get taken care of until the 15th. Well, they got their mortgage that comes out on the 1st. They've got groceries, they got cell phone, they got gas. So we put all of those expenses in and make sure, okay, is the $3,000 income going to be able to cover these expenses until you get paid next? If they can't, then you got to look at maybe rearranging your budget, rearranging your bills. In fact, you can call utilities, cell phone, those kind of things, and actually move your bills to a later date if for some reason you don't have enough money until you get paid next. And then you again go to the second half of the month, same thing, Wifey and Hubs get paid $1,500 each. You got about $3,000 in income. And they're gonna cover groceries again. You got utilities that come in, more gas, some subscriptions, car payments gonna come through at the end of the month. So just make sure you account for all those expenses so that each paycheck that comes in gets assigned for the next 2 weeks until you get paid next, instead of letting it disappear. Because a lot of times what happens is everybody feels broke at the beginning of the month because that's when all the bills are due. Second half of the month you get paid, you're like, nothing's due. And then you just like surf and turf, like we're loaded. And then the first of the month rolls around and you're like, oh my gosh, we're super broke again and we actually spent too much. So breaking it down by paycheck can really help clarify how your money comes in and should go out. Okay, this is a really important one for me. When the pandemic hit, people lost their jobs. People are continuing to be out of work or have issues, and creating an emergency budget, I think everyone should go through this exercise, whether your job is at risk or not, but just knowing how much can we slice our budget down if we had to, right? I went through this exercise when Michelle first got pregnant and we knew that she was gonna be at home. Okay, what if we cut everything out of our budget? Could we afford to live, right? Do I need to pick up an extra job? In fact, I did end up picking up an extra job after we went through this exercise. But here is the action items checklist of what happens. Say you lose a job or you have something major happen and you gotta get down and cut all the fat out of your budget and just go with the bare bones. This is your checklist. So you can hit pause on your goals. All those savings buckets and savings goals you have, maybe even investing, stop contributing to those things because you need all the money in your budget that you can keep. You're gonna convert your savings buckets into an emergency fund. So if you've been saving for a vacation or a new laptop or any of those things, those are now just part of your emergency fund. You might need to tap those funds just to pay the bills and keep the lights on. You're gonna wanna cancel or pause all of your subscriptions, your Hulu, your Spotify, Netflix, any of those entertainment subscriptions, any of the things you do not need to live, you're gonna wanna hit pause on those. A lot of them let you hit pause on the service and you can re-up them later, say when you get a job again, but make sure you go and cut that out. And then you're gonna wanna just lower your fixed expenses. There's a ton of ways to do this, but things like negotiating your bills down, or cut down on your utility use, just kind of like the frugal living type things, you're really just gonna need to tighten this up. Again, job loss is major, but it doesn't mean that everything is done for you. There's some things you can do here. Reducing the food budget. Meal planning helps. There's a service called Emails that does actually cost a little bit per month, but can save you hundreds because they are a full budget meal planning service. They have a budget plan in there that'll help you save money, but stop eating out. Again, these are sacrifices you will need to make if something major like a job loss happens. And then cut out unnecessary spending, right? We're just gonna focus on food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. And that's pretty much it. All right, so we put together a worksheet on how to put together this emergency budget. Basically just focusing on your needs, right? So say your spouse loses a job or you guys lose some income and you have a lower paycheck, right? So you can kind of see here the paychecks are a little bit smaller now. And we just put the needs at the top, like the mortgage, your food, your car stuff, and your utilities, right? So then you're just gonna only focus on what's above this orange dotted line. So for example, your income's about $4,500 and you can total that here at the bottom. And then if you go down and just look at your needs, your expenses are $4,250. So it leaves you about $250 toward your wants. I recommend just stick to your emergency budget for the first month or two. Like if this is a job loss, for example, just stick to the bare minimum. And then if you can flex a little bit more money into your wants, go ahead. But since this is an emergency situation, I recommend just piling your savings as much as possible. So you can use this worksheet if you are in an emergency. All right, so I mentioned savings buckets earlier. This worksheet is designed to help you track those savings amounts. So saving for something like a vacation or for Christmas, you're gonna put small amounts away per month towards a large expense, right? So if your vacation is $2,400 and it's 12 months away, each of these little pieces of the path are gonna be $200. We got 12 of them here. So for everything you're saving toward, you can break it down, divide it by 12, and that's how much you have. So every time you put $200 away in your vacation savings account, you just color in the road, and you probably have better coloring skills than I do, but that's how you do it, and this just helps you track your progress towards your savings buckets. All right, so one of the most important worksheets in this entire budget binder, the debt snowball worksheet. If you're not familiar with the debt snowball, essentially if you have multiple debts, you're organizing them from the balance of lowest to highest, right? So for example, we've got a couple of credit cards here, an auto loan, a student loan, and we put them in order of smallest to largest balance. So if there's a $500 balance that goes at the top, the next one's $2,500, $10,000, and so on. And the idea is you only pay your minimum payments on your larger balance debts, and you put as much money as possible at that smaller balance debt to knock it out quickly. So for example, we put in our debt balances here, minimum payments, and we're just gonna pay the minimums on the student loan, auto loan, and credit card number 2 here. And then this minimum payment of 25 bucks on that first credit card, we're gonna take your snowball amount, which is whatever you have left over at the end of your budget, right? And so earlier in that budget, we mentioned about $500 a month, right? So we'll call that the snowball amount. We add that to the minimum payment we're already paying on this card. You can put $525 a month toward that first credit card. And so when you pay that thing off, you just check the box, and that $525 that was going toward that card is now going to be rolled into the next credit card. So that's your snowball amount for credit card number 2. So credit card number 2 has a $75 minimum payment, and now you have an extra $525 to put toward that on top of that minimum payment. So you can really put a whole total payment of $600 a month at credit card number 2. So you can see how this payment gets bigger and bigger. Every time you pay off a debt, that minimum payment starts going toward the next larger debt, and you can start paying off those bigger debts in huge chunks. So credit card 2 gets paid off fairly quickly, right? About 4 or 5 months. Now this $600 payment is gonna be rolled into your auto loan. So your auto loan, you're paying about $200 a month, plus $600, you're paying $800 a month on this auto loan. You can knock it out in about a year. So you can kind of see how this helps you gain momentum, knock out some of those smaller debts so you don't even have to think about them anymore, and free up your cash flow to knock out those larger debts. So that's how you use the debt snowball worksheet. And speaking of debt payoff, we have a debt payoff tracker here. So this is just a kind of color it in as it goes as you start making payments type of thing. We just wanted to make it fun to pay off your debt. So this is for the auto loan. Total debt is $10,000. That means each square is worth 100 because we put 100 squares here. So 100 times 100 squares is your $10,000 debt. Every time you make a $100 extra payment on the principal of that auto loan, you can just fill in a square. And again, your coloring is probably way better than mine. And you can make it look beautiful. But the idea here is this is a picture of someone summiting a mountain. You knock out that debt payoff, you're gonna feel awesome, just like this guy at the top of the mountain. So this is a debt payoff tracker. And similar to paying off your debts, we also have a savings tracker. So if you are saving towards something like an emergency fund or a house down payment, you can track that and color it in along the way. Similar example, if you want to save $10,000 in an emergency fund, each of these squares is going to be worth $100. Every time you transfer $100 into that emergency fund savings account, you color in a square and you can see your progress toward that $10,000 savings goal. All right, this is my personal favorite tracker in the entire 100+ page budget binder. It's the Roth IRA tracker. Roth IRA is my favorite investment account for a ton of reasons, and I'll put some links below on the Roth IRA on why, but this allows you to track your progress in maxing out your Roth IRA each year. So as of 2022, you can invest $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA for you and for your spouse. So you can do $12,000 total. So we've got a couple of trackers here, one for you, one for your spouse if you're married. And if you break it down by month, if you put $500 a month away for 12 months, that'll get you to that $6,000 maximum. So as you deposit money into that Roth IRA, you just track it, right? So January, February, March here, we're putting $500 a month away. The goal is to have $6,000 invested at the end of the year, or $12,000 if you're gonna do 2 of these Roth IRAs. And we put this section at the end to put in your year-end account balance, which lets you just see the growth, right? So if you put $6,000 in, but you ended your year with $7,000 in that account, that means you made $1,000 in your investment. This is a great way to just see that compounding interest at work. All right, we have another investment tracker here. This is for any other type of investment account. So a regular investment account or an HSA or a 529 account, whatever you want to track. Again, you can put down the date that you deposited, how much you put in, and then put your totals at the bottom, and then see what your investment growth was by taking your total account balance minus your total invested. So again, another way to just track all of your investment accounts. Okay, this is a cool worksheet. This is where you can track your annual income goals. So I don't know about you, but I like to set goals for myself on how much I would like to earn that year. And this is a way to just track it and break it down month by month. So for example, in 2022, if you want to earn $120,000, you're going to be shooting for about $10,000 a month. So you can go in and write down each of your checks that come in. And again, gross pay or take home, whatever your goal is, you just follow that. And then it might help inspire you to, maybe take up a side hustle or two, or try, do some investing to try to get some more returns and try to hit that annual income goal. So again, you can go through here, put in your paychecks, maybe your side hustle money, and then total it at the bottom and see how far you are and if you're on track to hit that income goal for the year. All right, for you type A super organized, I have to have a checklist for everything, people. We've built it for you. This is an annual bills checklist. So you've got your bills each month. You also might have bills that are twice a year or every other month. You can put all of those things down here and literally just check them off as you send those payments in, right? So your mortgage, your auto loan, utilities, maybe property taxes, maybe car insurance is paid every 6 months. You can track all of those things on this annual bills checklist and just check them off as you pay them. And so the date that they're due, I just put like 1st, 5th, 10th. You don't have to put the exact dates or anything like that, but just the day of the month that you're going to be paying this thing off. All right, so we've put together this donation tracker. So if you're donating to, say, a church or doing cash donations elsewhere, you can track them here. Also, if you're giving things away to like Goodwill or other nonprofits, it's a great way to just make sure, okay, when did I give it? What did I give? How much was the valuation? What was the organization? And we have a little checkbox here. So if you collect a receipt, you can go, yes, I do have the receipt. And at the end of the year, during tax time, you can kind of look at this tracker and go, okay, do I have all the paperwork I need, from my church or from the organization to do my taxes as well? All right, this is another one of my favorite worksheets. I keep saying that, I know. But it really is, because this is a paper version of a spreadsheet thing that I made like a decade ago. And essentially we'd just gotten married and we wanted to give gifts for Christmas. We had a very, very limited budget and said, okay, well, can we break it down by who we're gonna buy for, how much we're gonna spend on each person? And so we've made a worksheet out of that. Essentially, you write down who you're gonna buy for, right? Write all the names down, how much you're gonna budget for each person. So for example, we got mom, budgeted $100 for a bracelet, we spent $90. And then when you buy the gift, you can just check it off and just go down the list of people, and so this keeps you organized during the chaos of the holidays. It's also great for other types of gift giving, but this gift planner can help keep you very, very organized and not go over budget buying gifts. And speaking of holidays, the party expenses planner is perfect for that as well. So if you're gonna be throwing holiday parties, or if you're gonna have any other type of event, and if you're like us at all, we go crazy overboard with this stuff because we love hosting people and parties, but sticking to a budget is important for that as well. So putting the budgeted amount at the top helps you go, and this is our bottom line number. And then, standard things like food, decor, gifts, or decorations, all that stuff can get put in here. Whatever you want to spend on this party, you put down, and then you can track, okay, did we stay within budget? How did we do? And it helps you make better decisions about how to plan that party. Okay, medical bills are no fun, but let's keep them organized so that they can just stay out of your hair. We put together this medical bills checklist so you could keep your insurance info handy right at the top, but also anytime a bill comes in, just organize them. So say, for example, a bill came in for $500. You can write down the hospital name, and you can write down how much insurance is gonna cover that, and then what you owe. So then as you pay that thing off, you can just check the box and say paid and go down the line. All right, this worksheet is for you super paper and pencil people, because I keep all my contacts in my phone, which is attached to my email, and it just follows me wherever I go. I don't even remember phone numbers anymore. But if you want to write them all down, we've got an important contact sheet with company name or the name of the person that you want to save, phone number, account info, and some notes. And you can just keep that organized right here on this sheet. All right, this is a really cool section we have in this budget binder. We put together a full yearly calendar broken down by month, where you can not only just track important dates, but I like to do it so you can track important expenses or income that are coming in. So for example, if your mortgage is always due on the 1st and your auto payment's on the 5th and utilities come in on the 10th, you can see that visually. So you go, oh, okay, I know that I'm getting paid on the 7th and the 21st, and I gotta make sure these bills are paid during that time. It's also really great for that 5th category of budgeting, which is one-time expenses, the thing that everybody forgets. You can look at the calendar here and write down, oh, we got Tommy's birthday on the 16th, so let's make sure we set aside the money for that, and you can have the money there when you need it. All right, and the last little bit of this budget binder is just to keep your days and your weeks organized. So we did a Monday through Sunday daily organization schedule, where you can write down some of the things you want to accomplish that day, and then even break it down by hour in time blocks. And then we've got a little notes section on the side. So this is just a great way to just look at your day and go, okay, what am I accomplishing today? What are the things on my to-do list? And maybe some notes about that day. We also have a couple worksheets in here on a weekly time frame, same thing. Break it down by 3 things you really want to accomplish that week, and then break those down by day and put some notes for the week as well. So the cool thing about these is you can print as many of these as you would like, and you can print 1 per day, and put 52 of the weekly ones and get them all printed out and just stay organized. And it just helps you keep your schedule as clear as your finances after going through this budget binder. All right, that is our 2022 budget binder. There's a ton of organization in here. There's a ton of financial worksheets. There's a ton of trackers. But what I want you to do is not get overwhelmed by all the options here. Just pick the most important ones. I highly recommend, if you haven't gone through budgeting at all, start with our past expenses tracker and just go through and find out where is your money going. And then you can put together an accurate budget for the first time. And then if you have budgeted before, but you want to stay organized with this thing, make sure you follow that spending tracker month to month. Every time you have a transaction, write that down. I'm telling you, 30 days of tracking your spending is going to change your life, change your perspective, and help you really get a handle on your money. And the whole point of this budget binder is not just to budget for the fun of budgeting. The point is to use it to save more money so you can start doing things like paying off massive debts, or saving up an emergency fund, or a down payment for a house, or maxing out your retirement accounts so that you become financially independent sooner, right? The goal of this is to just help keep your money organized so that you can just follow a system and a plan instead of hoping you get there someday. So thank you for watching this. If you have any questions about the 2022 budget binder, you can drop them in the comments below, or shoot us a DM on social media, or find us at roadmapmoney.com. We're happy to answer any questions you have at all. And I'm really excited to help you use this tool to build a life you love with the money you already have.
Jake, you're ridiculous.